Hey guys, it is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. It is great to be with you tonight, this evening. It is, ladies and gentlemen, the start of a brand new week, Monday, December 18th, 2023. We have a great guest, and I'll get to that in just a moment, but I do want to give a big thank you to everyone because, ladies and gentlemen, we are very close to our next milestone. Very, very grateful that we are at 92,300 downloads. What did I ask for before the end of Q1? 100,000. Once again, you delivered when it was Thanksgiving 2 weeks early, and I think you're going to deliver early again for the 100,000. This is incredible. We started on a Saturday with a brand new master topic, and we roll all the way through the week, and we finish up on a Friday with some great nuggets that you might need to watch more than once. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in case you don't know who I am, coach. And I'm a specialist in helping businesses tell a story that leads to them growing and being more scalable and, of course, more profitable. Now, I typically work with companies that bring in 10 million or more, and I'm really passionate about finding a company story, their mission from the core, from the truth of who they are, how they originated, what was the passion that got them to start their company? What's that origin story, right? And so I love to do that. And so I'd love to help you get that story out there, whether you know it or you need me to find it, because I'm great at finding those stories. Now, being a member of the International Press Association for 7 years, ladies and gentlemen. So we have an awesome show. So our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you ready for our topic? I know you're waiting for it. All right. So it's Unlock the Secrets of Love. We're on Series 2, Show 51, Episode Yes. We are on, can you believe, ladies and gentlemen? I cannot believe this. We are on our Series 2, and yes, we are on episode number 3. Episode number 3. So, and with episode 3, ladies and gentlemen, I have a great guest that we're going to be talking about in just a second here. But we're going to be talking about all the ways you can unlock the secrets of love. So, my guest tonight is Mr. Paul Zolman. He is the author of Love is God. In his wisdom, he placed us in a variety of circumstances that require us to find our way back to his pure love. So, what qualifies Paul to speak about love? Great question. Well, his childhood experience of the opposite of love, from the austere beginning and the distaste it formed inside him, he searched for it, eventually created a method that transformed his life from anger to loving everyone. I love that. Growing up in a family of abuse, physical touch became his preferred love style, only because of regularity. He could almost count on it. It was consistent. He came to think that was the way to express love, but deep inside, he knew that was twisted belief. He wanted a better life for himself, which is why he created a paradigm shift that works. In this book, you'll find what helped Paul Zolman move from a childhood boot camp of abuse to being a person of one who loves everyone and can find good about anyone in any circumstance. This is truly the role of love. And if you guys are wondering, so Paul's actually going to be joining us again around Valentine's Day. And we're going to be talking more about his book. But tonight we're going to be talking about something interesting. You know what that is, ladies and gentlemen? Did you know that love has a language? Well, welcome, Paul. Thanks so much for joining us here on Inspirations for Your Life. It is great to have you here.
Thank you, John. Pleasure to be with you today.
So love has a language, doesn't it? When you tell people that, I think they probably think we're crazy.
Has a lot of languages, actually, and a lot of ways to express it in different dialects, so to speak. Even in the United States, we have the New Jersey accent. We've got New England accent. We've got the Southern accent. Has different dialects. In essence, there's also different ways to express love. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight.
Communication about what love is. And they feel, well, that must be love. But then we learn it's not, right? It's like we come to that realization, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't figure that out until they're deeply hurt.
Exactly. I think that happens quite a bit, John, and it's when we are improving our communication skills, we're improving that language skill. And one of the things that I found out that really improved my language skills is figure out what the opposite is. If you can define what behavior you're having right at this moment, find out what it is on a spectrum. And I the other day I went out walking, John. I found a little walking stick. Just this is a stick. Didn't have any bark on it at all. On one end, it's very smooth, but on the other end, it's just kind of got some points on it, some little knots on it. So I call this my naughty and my nice stick. Perfect for Christmas. Just exactly what we need right at this time. And I'm sure Santa Claus has a stick just like that. But what that did for me, John, is help me understand that anger is really on that naughty end of the stick. So I put love on the other side of the stick. I put love on the nice side of the stick. And I've had some incidents in my life where I realized I'm on the angry side of the stick. What would be the opposite? Take, for example, sarcasm. Sarcasm is very prevalent, something that people just practice quite a bit of. Is that on the angry side of the stick or is that on the nice side of the stick? So on the naughty side of the stick or the nice? And I would put it on the naughty side of the stick because when you consider what the opposite is, the opposite would be more genuine, somebody that's genuine or truthful or authentic. And then when you see that contrast there, people will gravitate toward want to be authentic and want to be genuine rather than to be naughty and sarcastic.
I love that. I think a lot of people in life, you know, they get, as we said, a miscommunication or misinformation to what they think love is. And tonight we're going to be talking about basically what the language of love is. And I learned this a long time ago. Being an Eagle Scout, they say love is not boastful, it's not haughty, it's not rude, it's not angry. It just is. But I think a lot of people blame love because either they try to force love or they want it to be something else. Well, maybe it's not love. Maybe it's not meant to be love. And there's different kinds of love, which we'll talk about. But we said that love is a language, right? Very similar to a language that you'd use on a computer or a language that we use every day when we're speaking to people. It's a language. But as you mentioned in your book, there are different dialects. And also there's different components. So one place, I guess, that we have to understand to appreciate love is words. So tell us a little about how words affect us when it comes to love.
That's a great question, John. And as I was mentioning, words are really they come in all shapes and sizes. And the words that I would just mention that depends on what side of the spectrum it might be. If you can say that you're a patient person, I would say that that's on the loving side of the spectrum. The opposite might be impatience. That would be on the angry or the naughty side of the spectrum. Words really make a difference. People like to hear, I love you. They like to have compliments. They like to actually have someone identify a trait that maybe they haven't seen for themselves or haven't seen in themselves. When that happens, that person that likes words is going to light up. When they light up, their eyes get bright, they just get excited, they get happy. You've made their day. That's what we're looking for when we're talking about languages and trying to detect what is their language, what do they like the most, what might be their primary language or secondary love language.
When you mentioned that, I thought of an analogy. I'm celebrating Christmas soon, and some of you guys we're celebrating Hanukkah and Kwanzaa and all these other holidays. And no matter what is, it's kind of like we have a light up. We light up a tree, a menorah, the Kwanzaa piece. And what went through my head is that, that light up feeling. It's like when somebody says the right words, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I think that has more resonance than love, because love is very important, is hearing your name. And when you can hear, John, I love you. So the name is very personal to everyone. And so when you can couple that, I think, with the word love, I think that just brings it to a whole new level. And it almost like it stimulates your neurology so that it's like your body goes on fire, but in a good way, right?
Absolutely. I love that, John, that you have identified the name portion of that. There was a time that I went to church, and this lady that I had known in church looked like she had a brand new haircut. She's in her 70s, mid 70s. And so, really, no romantic love at all. But I said, "Cute haircut, Kathy." And she lit up like a Christmas tree or like a menorah. She lit up so bright that I even noticed that she had a new haircut, that it really made her day. And then I saw her husband sitting right beside her. He kind of bowed his head and just was just so sad. I could see that Dale had not recognized that Kathy had a brand new haircut, had not even mentioned how cute Kathy's haircut was. Words make a huge difference, and just the way we light people up could be words, it could be something different. There are other dialects that we're talking about too.
But you know the best part about this for people, regardless of their income level, it didn't cost you anything to do
Exactly.
that. Just a few minutes of a moment of your time. So if we can make a choice, right, and actually choose to give someone a genuine compliment, a compliment from the heart. Okay. Doesn't have to be, I love you. It could be something like you have a nice haircut, you have a nice smile. But when you give that compliment, don't expect anything in return. So we say, hey, you look really great tonight. And a lot of times they're doing that because they're expecting something back. So when you expect something back, you're already losing. Because when you offer something with no strings attached, that
Mhm.
means there's no requirement that I am putting out there that you have to do this for me. Just like when you said she had a nice haircut, I say, you have a great voice, or you have a great ability for being congenial, right? So when we do this from the heart, a lot of people look at us and like, you're nuts. But I think they haven't had a chance to, I guess, experience that language, right, Paul?
That's exactly right, John. And I think that you're spot on when you say that you send it out without any expectations of it coming back. Love, that's one of the secrets of love too that we're talking about tonight, that we send it out without any expectation. But there were laws of the universe that were put in place, John, before you and I or anyone else was ever born. The law of the harvest, the law of karma, the law of attraction, whatever you want to call it. The law says that you send something out, it's going to come back to you, and it'll come back after many days. Don't expect it right that moment. Sometimes it'll happen, but for the most part, it's not going to happen. There should be no expectation when you send it out. Just trust that those laws of the universe are going to bring that back. Can't have that expectation. If you have an expectation, like you have a love language and you want to give your love language away in hopes that it's coming back, that's a transaction. Got that expectation. That transactions are not love.
I love that, Paul. So what you're telling us, and for those of you that are watching or listening, is if we think of love as a transaction, regardless of whether we're talking about something G, P, G, R, X, whenever something is let's say a pro quo, like a tit for tat, back and forth,
Mhm.
that's not love. That is a trade. And love
Mhm.
is not a trade in that matter. Of course, we're supposed to trade to, give and take, but it's not about, well, I'm going to give you this, so you're going to do this for me. And I think a lot of, whether it's new people dating, whether it's relationships, they feel, well, what are you doing for me today? What are you going to do for me tonight? Well, it shouldn't be about that. It should be coming from the heart. I want to do this, or I want to spend time with you, not because I have to, but because I want to. And this takes me to an interesting thought. I was on a show last week, and I'm often asked to be on shows as well. Being a podcast host and coach, I'm also asked to be on as a guest. And I was on a show, and the show was very interesting because I was wearing this hat like I always do. And before we started, the person didn't have a great demeanor toward me. Now, I didn't know why, but I didn't really analyze it or judge it. to why the person didn't love me, to why they didn't want, like, and I just kind of was being a little loving in nature. And I said, I noticed that you're having a moment and you're feeling a little uncomfortable around me. I was wondering, is it something I did, or would you share with me why you're being like this? And the person paused and they went back and they said, John, I had a father that was not a great father. I said, okay. And he wore a stupid hat just like you do with that blue, um, basically, front. And he said, my father beat me. And when I saw that blue hat on you, he says, I was ready to dominate you. He says, but then after having a conversation with you for a few moments, I realized you're not that same person. So out of love, I'm choosing to replace that energy of hate, of disgust, of worry, of fear, of being angry with one of love.
That's a great story, John. I appreciate that. And I think words can do that for individuals. What I found, and part of my background of being from an angry family, was that I found myself being critical of people. What's wrong with that person? Why did they do it that way? Thinking I had control over the choices that they were making in their life. And I realized that critical picture that I was painting was maybe 10, maybe 20% of that person. I was missing the 80 to 90% of that person that was good. And I found that I needed to have that paradigm shift. I needed to change my focus on what's wrong with that person to what's right with that person. What can I love about that person? When we do that, like the podcaster was with your hat, and make that connection, when we can do that and change that to what's right about that person and focus on what's good about that person, or magnify what's good about that person with words, with our feelings, with our body language, I think we're going to make a friend, and we're also going to make their day, because that's going to be what they like to talk about anyway, their positive aspects.
And he told me that, he says, I really enjoyed having you on the show. And, I think I want to have you on another show. I was like, oh, that'd be great. And then he told me about a book. He says, you really should read this book. It was this Christian book called something, A Course in Miracles. So I said to myself, well, who is the author of the book? And it's called A Course in Miracles. I didn't read it yet, but I'm going to. And I was like, this is very, very interesting. And it's A Course in Miracles, and it's by Dr. Helen Schmuckman, I believe it's pronounced. And I said, I'll have to look it up. Well, I think it was the next day, which was not even 24 hours. I got an email saying, John, thank you for being on my show. Really appreciate the information you shared with me. And by the way, here's a complimentary copy of Miracles. I was like, wow. And I wrote back to him, dear such and such, thank you so much. I am very grateful for being on your show, but also the fact that you took the time to send me a book as a gift. I will definitely read it, and I would love to come on your show and talk about my experience, because I think when we can understand that our life is more when we learn to expect a miracle. So I know we said we shouldn't have any expectations, but I want to just say that we need to have an expectation of something being what we want. We don't want to put an expectation on the timeline, but we do want to expect goodness. We do want to expect we're going to have a great day. We do want to expect we'll have abundance.
It's great point, John. I think that the expectation is that if you plant the seeds of love, that they're going to grow, and you can nurture them. You can nurture it with your words. You can nurture it in a lot of different ways. But that's nurturing is the expectation that that's going to help that person. That's going to help you. It's going to help everybody. What happens when you send kind words out is that it's going to make their day when they light up. It'll make their day. they're going to share that with their circles of influence. On the contrast, if you send angry words out and make that person's day miserable, they're going to share that misery with everybody else too. Who wants to do that? And who would knowingly choose to do that, to make somebody miserable? The focus is just to send it out, plant those seeds, and watch them grow and nourish it from time to time.
I love that. Just like with a plant, we have to make sure
Mhm.
we give it sun, we give it fertilizer, um, we give it good soil, and of course, we give it water. And I think, you know, when there's a person that's having a challenge and they're having a situation, when somebody has a negative connotation, it's like it does get shared out, right? But when somebody has a positive connotation, it's not always shared to as many people,
Mm.
but the people that it's shared to positively can bring back an abundance fold in your life. So I think that's a great place, a good segue here, Paul, to get into our next language of love,
Okay.
and that's service. Tell us a little about that, Paul.
Great question, John. The people that like service are people that like to have their car washed. They like to have the carpet vacuumed. They like the trash taken out. They like the dishes washed. They like help with the laundry. They like dinner on the table. They like to be served, and when they are served in that way, they light up. Or they like to participate also in service activities. Maybe there's a charity in town that is raising money. They like to do that sort of thing because it's kind of their love language, what they like. Not everybody has the same love language of service, or the same love language that they like to receive as they like to give. For example, I love to serve. I love to also send words out. I love to help people. I love to provide gifts to people, but I'm not so much the gift kind of guy. In fact, uh, I'm not really a gift kind of guy. Gifts of all things is probably on the lowest part of my list of what I like. Physical touch is number two now. It's actually changed over the years. I really like sending words out. I really like sending out those words to affirm what that person already is, to help them see who they are, and that really is of the service to uh, a lot of people. Sending a gift out is a service as well. Service could be, there's a great service organization called justserve.org. You go on that service organization in your locality, you can find service opportunities at nonprofits. It could be at a basketball game. One time I was an usher at a basketball game voluntarily, but I could see the game and it was fun for me, but I was just helping people to their seats. It was a service opportunity. Thankfully, that college didn't have to pay me, or else they would have had to charge more for the tickets. It was a great service opportunity, though, and very enjoyable. Find something that you like. There's plenty of opportunities out there for service.
So service opportunities not only can give us the opportunity to help others, but I think sometimes we get a gift when we serve, don't we,
Mm.
Paul?
Absolutely. Yeah, there we get gifts when we serve. There's great satisfaction, John, in lighting people up. I say we send it out without any expectation, but you're watching for people to light up. You're watching to make people's day. When that happens, it's so satisfying, unbelievably satisfying. I love. There's a 2 blocks away from my home. There's a assisted living home and then independent living home, all for the elderly. I go down regularly and play puzzle with these elderly people. They always have a puzzle out on a table, and I go sit and talk with them, find out a little bit about their lives. They want to be heard. They want to be visited. They want to just be served in that way, and it's just a fun opportunity for me. But it blesses their lives as well.
There was a gentleman, a client of ours, and it was the other day I went to his home. And I said to him, I said, "How's your wife doing?" He says, "Oh, she passed away 6 months." I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Mm.
He says, "Don't be." He says, "It was a long road, and I'm happy she's gone. I didn't miss her then, but I miss her now. But I am happy she's gone because she was in a lot of pain and she just didn't
Mm.
remember anything." And so I came in. I said, "I don't want to keep you." He said, "No, no, no, no. Have a seat." So I came in planning to spend 5 or 10 minutes. Brought him a holiday cake or something. And I don't know, I think I was there for over an hour and a half, and I said, "I'd love to stay more, but I have a tree lighting I gotta get to in 10 minutes. So I have to go." He's like, "All right." He's like, "Well, if you ever come again," he says, "just leave it outside." I said, "Why?" He's like, "Well, because whenever you come, you know you can't just come and leave." So I think he appreciated the fact of, just
Mm.
to spend some time, because I don't think he gets a lot of people that visit him.
And there's a crossover with that. I know we're going to talk about time in a minute, but there's
Yeah.
crossover of these languages too. Just like in English, we have Italian words, we have German words, we have French words, we have all these homogeneous words, different words from different countries that we've adopted. So it is with these love languages, and that's really no secret, but it is there's a lot of overlap. Don't try to put it into a box, John. The whole idea is that we're not trying to put people in boxes like a survey might put you in a box. You're going to have to eat tacos every day the rest of your life, whether you like it or not. If that's your love language, that's what you're getting, tacos. And you don't have to do that.
So we have to know that there is a dichotomy, which we're teaching people here through these different love languages, that there is a dichotomy, and something might work for you and it might not work for someone else. So I guess the advice here is try different ones and see which work best for you. One might work better than another. And so when we think about words, we think about service. I think another thing that's probably the immediate go to after this is actions.
Absolutely. So the
What about
actions.
actions in love language?
Actions, you're actually doing actions in all the love languages. And I think that this is really important, that the action that you do is loving and it's without strings attached. Like you've already said, John, it has to be, it has to be a pure love. It has to be sending it out, no expectations. And when we do that, our actions are received in that way. If we send it out with strings attached, people will feel that there's an agenda. When there's an agenda, they don't even want it. They just keep it to yourself, because I don't want to have to do the payback on that particular item. And people feel that way. I feel that way. I think that the actions that we do, the things that we do could be service actions, could be the writing a note could be an action, uh, sending sending a note could be an action. Nobody gets any letters in snail mail anymore, hardly ever. It's always in the email. Send a note and just make it a handwritten
Bring
thank you.
bringing
Thank you.
bringing holiday cookies or some bringing holiday cookies could be an action too.
Absolutely.
Praying for we talked about religion. Praying for somebody can be an action. Visiting the sick, or
Mhm.
just spending time with someone, or maybe teaching them a skill or something like that. And it doesn't have to be elder people, it could be younger people too. Sometimes we have, be a big brother, be a big sister. So I think actions of love start when you're younger, but I feel that if you miss I'm going to call it the crucial juice when you're younger, I think it's hard to learn when you get older, and sometimes people might miss the boat and never really learn the language of love.
That's a great point, John. And for me, it took me to age 35 to realize that I got to stop blaming my father for what happens in my life. I found myself, as far as actions go, I found myself being annoyed at others, annoyed, until I'd have this flash of anger. And all this is action. Love to me is a verb, John. And I think that we really need to focus that it really is an action word. That, but these stacking these annoyances and getting to that flash of anger was something that was generational for me, passed down from my father. My brother, older brother, had it, I had it, and it was just something that uh, causes people to repel from you. And maybe an easier way to explain it, that is, if someone is in a swimming pool and they have an accident, everybody scatters. They don't want to be around that person because they say, it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. And they start running away from you. I didn't want to repel people. I wanted people to be drawn to me. That's what happens when you send love out without those strings attached. It is an action. And you can't really sit around in your house or wherever. You can't sit and wait for love to come to you. You've got to get up out of that chair. You can walk down the street, and I guarantee you'll find someone that is lower than you, just down and out, worse, maybe worse depressed than you might be. Lift them up. When you lift them up, it makes their day, and it's going to make your day. It's going to lift you up all at the same time. It's almost counterintuitive that you do that, but it's just very important that that be done. That's how you do the action.
Very interesting thing you said, Paul. And I'm not going to mention the person's name or where they're from, but I had known this person for a very long time. Didn't know a lot about the person, and but the person was always very secretive about, like, where they were, what they were doing. And I learned that this person didn't have a place to come to at the end of their day, except their car. And I think these things, you don't realize you're being nice to someone, but you're not nice to somebody because of what's going on in their life. You're nice to them because you want to be nice to them. People say, well, gee, I have to be nice to them because they're this, they're that. Well, that shouldn't be love. Love shouldn't be a pity party where, well, I'm going to be nice to you, or I'm going to love you because no one else does. And I think a lot of people fall in that trap. But before I go to the next love language that I'll ask you about, I wanted to share what Merriam-Webster says. Merriam-Webster says love is a noun, in case you guys didn't know. So love has many meanings. It's strong affection for another arising out of kinship or personal ties. Attraction based on sexual desire, affection, and tenderness felt by lovers. Affection based on admiration, benevolence, or common interests. An assurance of affection, warm attachment, enthusiasm, or devotion. The object of attachment, devotion, or admiration, such as I love this baseball or this baseball game. A beloved person, unselfish, loyal, benevolent concern for the good of another. The fatherly concern of God for humankind, brotherly concern, a person's adoration of God. We hear a god as a Cupid or Eros to personify love, make it playful. Amorous, meaning a love affair. A sexual embrace for basically celebrated between two partners. A score of 0. And I want to say this real quick. There's only one time that love means nothing. And people look at me like, what do you mean? There's only one thing that love means nothing to. You know what that is? A tennis player. A tennis player has no respect or regard for love. Why? Because love is 0 in tennis.
That's very interesting, John.
But
I play pickleball, and it's similar to tennis, but it's pickleball. It's a cross between ping pong and tennis, and it's got shorter paddles and a smaller court. Do 4 pickleball courts and a full tennis court. But I'm trying to help people, say in tennis they say love all at the start of the game. In pickleball, it's a little bit different, and because it's different, we say love everyone, and it's just so everyone has 0 at the beginning of the game. As soon as someone scores the point, now it's game on. So we don't do the love after that.
Well, so it's a little bit different, but I think a lot of people think love has no merit, but that's the only place that love has no value is on the tennis court during a match. So I just thought that was very interesting that happens, and I think a lot of people out there, a lot of these different types of love, whether we're talking about appreciation and enjoyment, there's lots of love. You could have a love for ice cream. You could have a love for chocolate. There's a love for your friend. We talked about the other night. There's a love for your brother, a love for your family. There's also a love for a romantic partner, whether that be male, female, significant other, whatever it is, there's a love. And love comes with a very unique thing, and that is the ability to solve a craving of being wanted. And what I tell people when you think about this is that, I feel bad because I'm not loved. Well, you first have to love yourself before anyone will love you. And you have to realize that other people's love is there not to replace your love, but to complement your love. Because if you live your whole life expecting a love, then you're going to feel unworthy to even love yourself.
Great point, John. And I like to handle it this way, that it's almost that counterintuitive thing that I've found for me, that sending it out, I feel loved. I feel loved when people light up. I feel very satisfied, and I feel like I'm doing something that's a whole lot better than watching for what's wrong with that person. What I needed was a change of behavior, John, and this really was something that helped me. Is that I actually created a cube that has the love languages on the cube, and on each side of the cube is there's service, there's the words, there's all 5 of the love language we're talking about. I created the 6th side to be surprise me. So the way I keep on track for sending love out and doing it as an action, and I really believe that doing it as an action and not waiting for it, not waiting for that pity party, or maybe you told somebody what you thought your love language is and they're not doing it. You get to that pity party unintentionally that says, "Well, I told you how to love me. Why aren't you doing it?" And you don't even want to go there. So the best way to do this is send it out. And I believe in that way, it becomes that action verb. And, regardless what Webster says, they say it's a noun, that it's more on the receiving end, and it could be on the receiving end. But for you, that to get it and to send it out is a verb. It's something that you absolutely have to decide you're going to do. So I take 2 seconds. I take this in time to invest 2 seconds per day or less to roll the cube. Whatever it lands on, that's the love language I practice giving away all day that day, all day. So I've got a theme for the day. I've got a purpose for the day. In that purpose, I'll find several people, 3 to 5 to 10 people a day that light up, people that I'm associating with. I'm practicing words, or I'm practicing touch, or I'm practicing just giving time or service. Whatever it is I'm practicing that particular day, that's what I'm watching for people to light up. When they light up, I no longer have to say, "Excuse me, could we pause this relationship for a moment? So I can have you take this survey so I know how to love you." You watch what they're doing. You use your observation skills, and you don't have to do awkward anymore. That's I think that's where really we need to take it. That's really where it needs to go, to be able to people to feel loved, is to send it out.
That's a great point, is that so love is not this thing in space.
Mhm.
Love is something that we're meant to feel with our bodies. And the part of our body that feels everything, even though we can feel, touch, taste, sense, we have auditory, we have visual, it's really harnessed on our heart, because our heart is what feeling comes from. That's where love comes from. And when we choose to take our heart and we choose to, what I like to say is, picture our body sending love out, we actually radiate the magnetism out of our love to other people. It's been shown in studies that our feelings can actually reach 5 feet on positivity and 3 feet on negativity. So just you making the choice right now that I feel loved, or that I'm sending love out there. Now, maybe not on the podcast, you can't feel this, but if you were within a few feet of me, you'd be able to tell that I'm sending out love. And this is not any woo-woo stuff. I mean, this has actually been proven with science. But there's another part of love in the language world, and that is surprises. So I think this is a really cool one, Paul.
I love surprises. John, thank you for introducing that. Surprise me on is the one of the sides of the cube that I named surprise me. It's a hand holding a question mark. I live a couple hours north of Las Vegas. Some people around here call it dealer's choice. Same thing. But whatever, when it rolls on that day, the cube rolls, surprise me on that day. What you're watching for is opportunities to do random acts of kindness. Just the other day, I've got an e-bike and I rode it a couple miles over to Chick-fil-A to get a breakfast sandwich. And I get in line, there's just one other person in front of me and another person standing off to the side waiting for their order. I realized that, I rode off without my wallet. And I'm checking my pockets, make sure that I didn't forget anything. No credit card, no money at all. I go back out, I put my helmet on, climb on my e-bike, and this guy that was waiting for his food came out and he said, "I'll buy you breakfast." And I said, "Really?" And I thought, this is really kind of nice. And this is what I'm talking about, John. The karma that whatever you send out, you don't know when that's going to come back. They came back for me that particular day. He bought my breakfast. It was only $4. Gave me a $20 bill. Said, "Just give me the change." And so I gave him the change and just had a very nice exchange with him. I did happen to have a business card with me, by the way. And I gave him a card and said, "I have something for you. I have a cube that I'll give to you that I make that has the love languages on it. I really appreciate what you've done today, that surprise that you made for me." And he subsequently has contacted me through email, and I sent it. He supposedly received it today. Just something very recent, something so simple. Pay $4 to help a person out that forgot their wallet was a great surprise to me. I loved it.
That was like that podcaster that out of the blue just sent me a book. Like, and this isn't one that it wasn't his book that I was appearing on my show. It was another author's book that he had read and paid for with his own money and sent me on Amazon.
That's very nice.
So that was a very interesting surprise. And I think, if we can be, I'm going to say, expectant for surprises. I'm not saying we're looking for a particular surprise, but we can be expectant. We can know that surprises are coming. Universe, I'm open to surprises in abundance that come to give me more positivity in my life. Whatever they are, I'm ready. And I think when we start to do that, a lot of people say to me when it comes to abundance, all right, universe, I need this money. Well, the universe doesn't work well with that. The universe works well with, hey, universe, I'm not sure if you forgot. Remember that job you're going to give me? Remember that $10,000 you're going to give me? I know you're really busy up there with the holidays. Just want to make sure you're processing it because I am expecting that. I know you're sending it, and I'm already grateful that I know you're going to send it to me. I know you're busy, and you might have just forgot, so I know it's coming, but I just wanted to give you a little reminder. But I'm here waiting for it. And I think when we have that kind of an attitude as opposed to, oh my gosh, universe, you didn't send it yet. I didn't get it. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I need it tomorrow. You're going to send more of that energy out there, and you're going to get more of I didn't get instead of I'm receiving, which is very similar to what you were saying in the love world, that we have to practice love. We have to give love. So when we think about love, how to show and communicate in the language of love, what's a summary for people that they can take away? How should they really embrace communicating in love? Because we've talked about a lot of things.
Great question, John. And I want to go to the India for a minute. There's a Sanskrit dialect in northern India called, it's just a Sanskrit dialect. From that dialect, we get words like nirvana. We get words like karma. But the one I want to talk about today is called namaste. And it's just a word that maybe you've heard it in a yoga class. At the end of the class, the teachers put their hands together, bow their head, close their eyes, say namaste. It doesn't mean, hey, y'all, class is over, you can go now. It doesn't mean that at all. The Hindu interpretation, back to Webster's, but this is the Hindu interpretation of namaste, means the God in me sees the God in you, or the divine in me sees the divine in you. As we're talking about love, we're watching for the good parts of people. We're watching for what's right about that person and sending that out, noticing that, expressing it in words or in a note or in any way we can, trying to help them see it themselves. Some people are so close to the forest they can't see the trees. This is going to help them see the trees, help them see themselves in a different light when we express that kind of love.
So really, Paul, it's very similar to perspectives. We always say, why don't you try on my shoes, or why don't you try on his
Mhm.
shoes? Well, it's not the point of actually, walking the shoes. It's the proverbial, the shift of the fact that, you don't know what I'm going through. And then somebody says that, and if you really want to get into their world, well, picture being me for a day. Picture going through the things I have to go through. And then maybe you might be able to show some compassion and maybe even some love. But I think sometimes we get so wrapped up in our own stuff that we think we're more important than everybody else. And we don't really get genuinely interested in the other person. We're only looking to become interested in terms of the rule that it will benefit ourselves.
I agree with that. That if it's self-centered, then it's not going to work. It's not about me or it's not about you anymore, John. It's about them. And one of the best things is the classic film Sound of Music. In that film, the little delivery boy, his name's Rolf, and he's in love with Maria, the oldest Von Trapp's daughter. He's on the ground singing. She's on the second story. Part of the lyrics of that song say, "Love in the heart wasn't put there to stay. Love isn't love till it's given away." That's what we need to practice.
I love that. That is great. So that's like the old adage that well, the person's not coming back to me. Well, just let them go, or let it go, and whatever it is, even though you love it, let it go. And if it finds its way back to you, then it was meant to be. I think sometimes we try to hold on to things too so tightly
Mm.
that it can cause us lots of pain, emotional frustration, health issues, and if we just let it go and let it just go away, if it's meant to be, it'll be back. So I think this brings us to a very interesting point before we wrap up here. This has been a very educational show tonight. I guess what we really want to say in a quick word is we don't want to wish for love, understand it, and express it by true intention. I think a lot of people think that love is something we're going to go buy on Amazon, or that we're going to go get by reading a book, or that we're going to go get because we went on some site. That's not love. That is components of love, but they're taken out of love. And because they're misdirected, the energies are misdirected, people often don't like it. But I tell people that's not love. That's a part, but it's not connected to true intention. And when it's
Mm.
not connected to true intention, we get all kinds of things. We get guilt, we get shame, we get anger, we get disappointment, and we get confusion.
Absolutely. There's that miscommunication. What I found out about learning the love languages is by rolling the cube every day for 30 days. I was giving away all 5 love languages, so I knew them backwards and forwards. What that did for me, John, is improve my ability to see it when it came my way. Gave me a peripheral vision. Most people only see what they like. They only see their primary love language. Everything else is nice, but it's not love to them. This gives you that peripheral that says, oh, they're loving on me. Now I can respond to that. I know in my lifetime, John, that I've missed so many opportunities. People were loving on me. I didn't even see it.
Wow. Well, Paul, this has been, like I said, very educational and more than eye opening. I'll say heart opening, with no pun intended, in learning the languages of love that we talked about: words, service, actions, and surprises. But before we do go, unfortunately, we have to. Um, how can people get a hold of you, Paul, if they want to reach out and maybe learn more about you and what you do?
Great question, John. Thank you very much. They can contact me at my website, rolloflove.com. You're able to leave a message if you want to message me. There are also the Cube book. I do have the journal as well. All that's available on the website. I have private coaching as well. It's all at rolloflove.com. And I did a play on words. ROLL is outside of you. That's what you do to a dice. ROLE is what changes you within. ROLE of love.com.
I love it. I love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys got some true value. And whether you're having a challenge in a relationship, whether you're getting started with a relationship, or whether you just feel like you're just going through life, but you don't have a purpose, I would ask you to turn inside and start learning how to love yourself. And once you do that, then and only then will you be able to give love away. Paul, it was really a privilege and pleasure and honor to host you tonight. And I know we'll definitely have you back again, probably closer to Valentine's Day. And we'll talk a little more specifically, maybe about some things that people can do to maybe help their love life.
I'd love that, John. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Paul Zolman, this was a very interesting, eye-opening session. And I want to thank you guys for being here, for supporting this great show. Now over 90,000 downloads. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, love is not something you just play around with. It's something you've got to mean from your heart. Ladies and gentlemen, before I do say goodbye, because you know I do have to, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. And of course, you know who I am by now, but in case you don't know, I'm a podcast host and a podcast coach, and I'm a specialist in helping businesses tell a story that leads to them growing and being more scalable and, of course, more profitable. If you missed this or any of the shows, be sure to go to my QR code or just visit believemeachieve.com. Whether you see us on Instagram, whether you're listening to the audio cast, or maybe you're just seeing us on YouTube. And pretty soon, you guys tomorrow, right?